Hello everyone, welcome back to Planet Coaster, welcome back to Avalon Acres. It feels like an absolute age since we've been in this game, but I have got an awful lot done in this episode. So, first coaster for the park, then finally 8 episodes in and we start working on a coaster. Obviously this is a much more scenery focused park, so that's the main reason that it's taken so long to get to this stage. For this park I've pretty much got everything in my head exactly how I want it before I start building it, so things are being done in a certain order for that reason. With the coaster, it's not going to be a particularly realistic one, just like everything in this park. It's a fantasy park, it's a medieval park, so really I just wanted it to interact with the scenery and the terrain. It's the layout you probably wouldn't see like this in real life. I may change some of the layout because I'm still not sure if I'm entirely happy with it or not, but regardless it works alright for now. Firstly I tried doing the 4 meter trick, then I realised that's just not for me because it looked terrible and it just didn't work. Even with the smoothing and everything, so I cut out the first build of the coaster, and I'm just showing you this one. There are some parts of this video that I had to cut out because it was just extremely long, and there's a lot of scenery that gets built in this, which is the main focus of the build and the park obviously, but you know, once I got everything sort of looking right, the coaster does run quite nicely, it's quite smooth. And yeah, it looks roughly how I wanted it to look. Other than the only bit that I think I might change is that big helix around the lake. I don't know if it's just a bit too big, but that's going to have scenery all around it as well. So I'm not sure whether to keep it like that. I had to tweak all this a bit because it wasn't actually getting all the way around the track. So I do change that sort of dodgy figure of 8 loop thing at the end there, to make sure it gets round. Obviously we do some testing and POVs and stuff there to see how it looks, but yeah, it's after a fair bit of playing about we get something that looks reasonable. Like I say, not really a realistic coaster. I wouldn't say, oh, this is a GCI or this is a whatever, Intamin Woody. I don't really know who makes Woodies, to be honest. It's like I say, it's just to fit in with the theme, and that's what we start working on. Obviously with the station it's going to be another sort of castle, but with the different type of stonework, and a different colour, so it looks it looks quite different, sort of how I wanted it to be completely separate from the main area, from the main castle, and you just see it in the background as you come into the park. So with this one, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with the station build and everything. You know, when you have an image in your head but you don't really know how to put it forward, so really I just started building just to see what I could come up with. So we do this thing of putting in the individual bricks. I think they're from the adventure pack, maybe the temple bricks or something like that, just round the bottom to give it a sort of border, I guess, at the bottom, and I think it looks fairly good. I'm fairly happy with the colour of this because it does give that variation from the original, like the main castle, and it's, yeah, I'm really struggling to actually talk today and think and engage my brain. I always have this problem when I'm playing Planet Coaster, when I'm doing commentary for Planet Coaster, because the videos are quite long, so trying to actually get across what I'm trying to build is slightly more difficult. Like with Parkitect, I just seem to know what I'm actually talking about most of the time. But yeah, commentary isn't really my strong point, to be honest. What we will have mainly just time lapse with music in this one, to be honest. Here I'm building some pillars, but I wanted custom pillars, so I made them out of door pieces, rotated them all round, and then stuck some pillars and poles in. And I think these look really good. It's all about the detailing in this game, in my opinion. All about the scenery and detailing, and I think we really pulled this off nicely here. I get rid of that big old tower on the right there, because I just don't feel like it fits in right, and we just have these pillars all the way round. I then continue to place these pillars along the track, along where the brake run is, and that's all sort of enclosed, so you'll come into there as part of the brake run, while you're on the brake run, sorry. I'm not going to be doing any transfer tracks or sheds or anything like that for this one, because like I say, it's not focused on realism. There's just no need for me to be building it really. In future projects we'll probably try work more on the realism as well, like I did in the previous park that I built. But this one I just wanted to go crazy with the scenery really. That's the whole idea of this park. And so far I definitely have done that. There's probably thousands of pieces in this park already. Each building probably has thousands of pieces. We're getting about 30 FPS, which isn't too bad for my computer, but that's already told me that this is not going to be a massive park. I might not even be able to get everything in that I originally had planned. I wanted another dark ride, but obviously you need a building for that, you need lots and lots of pieces. I just don't know if the computer's going to handle it, so that might not happen. But nevertheless, we'll keep building, we'll see how we get on, and we'll see how the computer manages it. This coaster is going to take up at least another episode, maybe another 2 episodes, because there's so much more scenery that needs to go onto it, and I felt like it was time to cut this part short. Once I'd sort of worked on it for a few sessions, they really, it would have the video would have got too long. Even as it is, it's been cut down to make it the right size. I don't want to do videos that are much longer than half an hour now, because I know what it's like when you're trying to watch something that long. You lose concentration, and it just doesn't need to be that long. So I need to sometimes cut out when I'm working on something, do a cinematic, and then when I go back to it, it's a new episode, if you know what I mean, just to keep the time down. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna leave you with the time lapse and a bit of music up to a certain point, because there's something else I want to talk about later in the video. Okay, so enjoy. Right, sorry folks, I'm back to ramble again about absolute nonsense and not make a lot of sense. I just wanted to talk about this building, which is a lookout tower. Going back to the Age of Empires and sort of civilization type games theme that the park is also based on, in a medieval style. A lot of those sort of empires or cities or villages, if you like, have these lookout towers, and I thought it would look really cool in front of the lift hill for the coaster and have the queue line sort of snake round it. So that's what I went for. It took absolutely ages to build this in the end. Like you can see, I've done most of the build. Trying to get all the brickwork lined up was actually really difficult for this one, but not half as difficult as what the roof was, because I made a completely custom roof. And like you see, it looks good. Lots and lots of pieces, but it was an absolute pain to build. I'm happy with how it turned out in the end, but yeah, these sort of roofs, like it wouldn't have been too bad if it wasn't for the fact that it's a rounded, or not rounded, but you know, like shaped. If it was just a straight flat roof, I probably could have done it a lot quicker. I'm also going to have to revisit it at some point, because when you zoom out back towards the entrance of the park, the draw distance for that piece that I use for the roof doesn't go very far, so it looks like it's missing a roof if you zoom out if you zoom out too far. So yeah, I'm going to have to put some blocks of wood or something underneath it just to make it look like there's something there. Maybe just some poles or something, and use a ton load more pieces, but we'll sort that out another time. It's fine for now. So then I went on to build the queue line for the coaster, which is, there's a bit of a cattle pen there, so I wanted to enclose that and make it a little bit more interesting for the guests, sort of an inside section, thinking sort of like what Hagrid's motorbike adventures got at Universal Islands of Adventure, where you sort of go into the castle for a bit and then join the ride, just to make the queue less boring really and hide some of the cattle pen-ness. I cut out quite a lot of this build because it is just basically placing pillars and planks and walls, but yeah, we've like I always say, we got there in the end. I put a roof on it and then another roof over the top to make it look a little bit more interesting. That's pretty much it for this really. Put the lights in, just some candles and stuff. I do make a slightly custom lamp thing for it, where I put two lamps on a plaque and sort of hanging off the plaque. And yeah, it looks alright. There's no massive detailing or theming inside it really, because you don't really look in the queue lines that much when you're sort of looking around people's parks in these games. So yeah, I kept it pretty basic. I think I put a couple of the wall decorations in, and that's about it. It was the wrong size for the roof for some reason, so yeah, that took a bit of playing about with to get how I wanted it, but it looks fine in the end. It looks alright. Sometimes you just have to sink a roof down by a tiny, by a pixel, just so you don't get the X and Y fighting. Same with Planet Zoo. I find Planet Zoo is quite a bit worse for that actually. There seems to be more pieces here that will just settle together in this game. With Planet Zoo, like anything you seem to put together manages to fight, which is kind of frustrating, but it's just how it is, I guess. Doing a bit of the lighting here then. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to go for, so tried a couple of different things before I settled on these yellow lights for the actual castle, and then the white ones for the extra bit where the brake run is, and I think that looks pretty good in the end. It still looks quite dark in this area, so I probably do need a little bit more lighting at some point, but it's fine for now. Like, obviously all this is just a work in progress. I'll take a little look in the queue line to see how it looks there in the dark as well, and it looks fine. This area just behind the massive path there you see before you get to the lookout tower ends up just being water, because I didn't want any buildings or anything obscuring the view of the castle station, the coaster station and the lookout tower. I wanted you to be able to see all that, you know, from a distance. Think, oh, what's that? I'll go over there and see what it is. So yeah, other than that, just doing some fencing here. I made a slightly custom fence, I guess, using door pieces and various other pieces, and it looks pretty good. So I cut out most of the copying and pasting that I did here, because you really don't need to see me do that. So in a sec it'll just skip to the completed fence pretty much. Yeah, that's it. A few more bits to add in here. I mean, it's very dull in it watching someone build a fence. it's all stuff that needs to go in, because it just wouldn't look right with the default fencing that you can put onto the queue lines. So it's, you know, it's all gravy. It looks alright in the end. The only other thing that I do is build, when the queue line goes up, a load of rock work and stuff, because basically the walls themselves, that I do put a couple of walls in, but then I put rock work around it, because the walls themselves wouldn't sit in nicely with the way the path is. Basically paths and buildings never seem to agree with each other in this game. They're always different lengths and everything. I don't need to moan about the pathing on this game, because plenty of people have already commented on that enough. If Frontier ever make another Planet Coaster game, I'm sure the first thing they do will be working on a new path system. That's it then for the build. Thank you for watching, enjoy the cinematics, and I'll see you next time when we continue working on the coaster. Bye bye.